Welcome back to Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm talking about the episode The Carnival. This was an early episode, and watching this episode again, it became clear to me the way in which the series evolved and found its rhythm. I see things here in this early episode that then maybe changed as season one went on and settled into what became perhaps more of the dynamics, the personalities of the characters. I think we were all still kind of finding our characters, finding our feet, finding the dynamics of the family together. Michael as Olivia, Ralph Waite playing John, how those characters became really theirs. I felt that in this one, the way Olivia was written was closer to Olivia in the homecoming. And I feel like over the first season, Michael began to emerge as her own version of Olivia, and the writers began to write Olivia a little differently, perhaps, than in one of these early episodes. In this episode, the circus has come to town, the carnival, and the Walton children are going to go see it, and they end up not being able to because Grandma breaks her glasses, and they all choose to chip in, and their money for the carnival tickets they give towards Grandma being able to replace her glasses. I'm not sure how many young people would forego their own personal pleasure for the sake of something like that in a lot of families. I think it's a good lesson, and I hope that a lot of young people are watching episodes of the Waltons and perhaps learning a different perspective on importances and family. I love that piece of it. There's some fun things in here. We didn't do a lot of scenes in the bathroom, but this one has one, and I think it's the only time you ever saw anyone theoretically sitting on the toilet. When young Elizabeth, you see her knees and her bloomers down around her legs, and of course, none of these were practical. The toilet wasn't a working toilet. The sink wasn't a working sink, but we're all crammed in there. You know, it was one bathroom for a family of 11 people, so everyone had to share. So I think it gave a realistic view of that. And yet, at the same time, here we were in the 1930s with indoor plumbing, which was pretty great. You know, we had electricity and we had running water. We were lucky. We were sort of ahead of our time for a lot of families at that period in time. But Earl Hamner's family came up at a point in time where I believe they had running water and electricity. So this was something that he was familiar with and wrote to what he knew from his family. Another aspect in this episode that happened a lot in early episodes was that we were barefoot. We were barefoot around the house. We were barefoot when we were out walking around outside. And for myself, growing up in Southern California, because we had mild weather most of the time, I did run around barefoot. I still do, around the house, inside, outside. So it wasn't strange to me to be running around outside barefoot. At some point, I think one of the kids stepped on something. You know, I mean, sets are notorious for things are being moved around, built, construction's going on, temporary construction. So nails and screws and all kinds of things are around, and you can't clean all that up all the time outside. So I think someone stepped on something, probably required a tetanus shot, and then that was the end of it. It was like, oh, those children need to be wearing shoes. So then we all had to wear shoes from then on, which was probably smart and safer, definitely. But I loved that character, that piece of the characters early on. I spoke about things being different because this was an early episode. In this episode, Elizabeth and Jim Bob share a bedroom. And it looks like it was the bedroom that was the girls' bedroom. So I found myself going, well, where are the girls sleeping? Where are the boys sleeping? The other boys? How many bedrooms did we pretend we had early on? So that was something that obviously changed as the season evolved. In the homecoming, all the kids shared a bed. If you hearken back to that, I think there were 4 or 5, 6 of us sleeping in the same bed. Whereas here, they decided to start spreading us out a little bit. But ultimately, the 3 girls, when we were younger, shared a bedroom, and the 3 boys, and John Boy had his own room, the grandparents and the parents. But here, Elizabeth and Jim Bob shared a bedroom. Ike Godzi's store and the candy counter. I mentioned this when I was talking about the house and how we filmed that. And here is a prime example of all that wonderful candy that they stocked when we were filming in Ike Godzi's store. And I think Cammie, in a comment on one of my videos, also talked about going in and swiping candy on days when we were filming in Ike Godzi's store. That was always a treat. You'll also notice in this episode a personal habit of Will Geer's that he chose for Grandpa, which was that Grandpa didn't drink his coffee or tea out of the cup. He poured it into the saucer and drank it from the saucer. I'm not sure why he chose to have that particular trait for Grandpa, but it was very unique, and he stayed consistent to it in a lot of episodes. I definitely saw him do that a number of times, and when I caught this in this episode, I went, oh, of course, he used to do that, and I always thought, wow, that's so unique. I loved the aspect of the carnival circus performers in this episode. My mom was an acrobat growing up, and she and her brother had a hand-to-hand balancing act and toured around England, where she was born, when she was young and into the 40s, a little further along than the 30s with the Waltons here, but not so far removed from the similar time period. So I had an appreciation for all things circus and acrobatic from a young age. Of course, in this episode, Mary Ellen decides that she's going to try and emulate the tightrope walker. In this particular case, the way this was filmed was that when you see what's supposed to be Mary Ellen actually up on the roof of the barn, that is not me. They had a stunt double that did that. And what was interesting there was that for that, you see that there's like a bit of a pitch to the roof of the barn. Well, from the point that you can't see, there was a platform built out there. So the stunt double was actually walking on this platform. Not super wide, but probably, two feet wide or something like that. So I'm not crazy about heights, but I don't know that that was terribly dangerous. When they went to do my close-up, what they did was, remember the teeter-totter in the front yard? So what they did was they took that plank from the teeter-totter and they put it up between two ladders. And I walked back and forth on that. Well, I was probably 5-6 feet off the ground when I was doing that. I mean, if I'd fallen off of there, I could have done some damage. And I had to be making turns and stuff like that. So I kind of felt like what I did for those close-ups was potentially more hazardous than the stunt person up on the roof. Anyway, just my opinion, but I thought that was kind of a little nerve-wracking at times. I really enjoyed working with Billy Barty, and I would cross paths with him over the years at various different celebrity events. He had a wonderful sense of humor and such a wonderful outlook on life that I found him very inspiring. Those are my recollections of the episode The Carnival from season 1 of The Waltons. If you're enjoying these episodes, these video segments about behind the scenes, please like and subscribe. Comments, questions, put them in the comment section below. I try to read all of them. Keep an eye out for more behind the scenes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.